If I live in fear, everyone else lives in fear. Get the giggles out.
Hello everyone, welcome to Music Makes Sense, the podcast that talks about why music is easy and why life is hard. Today our guest is a Fort McMurray raised, born boy. He has been a musician for over 10 years, and he recently got a grant to do a podcast. Everyone, me, Josh Weber. Woo, yeah, it's me, yeah, woo. In this episode, we're going to talk about why music makes sense. And the inspiration for the podcast, and a little bit about me and my life, and pretty much what how the sausage is made. So pretty much like music has been music's always been around my life, and it's always been really not shoved in my face, but really prevalent. I've always had my parents want me to be in music, and I've always wanted. My uncle has always wanted me to be in music, and in fourth grade, I had the opportunity to be in music, but I didn't really want to play a band instrument. So the only thing available that was close to like a rock instrument, something that was, rock and roll, was like bass. So, I picked up electric bass, and I went to the local music shop, Campbell's Music, and I picked out the starter pack bass, and I still have it right to this day. It's almost the same blue as this. And went to band class and started playing the Fat Cat Strut. And from that moment, I kind of knew that music was cool and there was something there, but it was nerdy and it wasn't like exciting for me. So I quickly didn't do any of the homework I was supposed to do, because also I hated reading sheet music. I hated doing that stuff, and I didn't like slurp, 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 playing most of the songs that were, being there, because they didn't swing, they didn't groove, they weren't anything. They were just like, it's fourth grade band. You can't really expect too much, but you want to, cats want to jazz. So, I promptly put the bass down, and then a dude came into my life, and he was 17 and I was in fourth grade. I don't know how old you are in fourth grade, but you're like 9, 10, 8, maybe, something like that. And then, so when you're that age and they're like 17, it's the most impressionable thing in the world. And he played music, he played guitar, he sang. Honestly, I thought he sang really well. And I don't know, I was really drawn to how he always had so much passion when he sang, and he didn't care, and it was just truly about the music and being a conduit to getting out whatever you needed to get out. And he taught me how to play the song Stand By Me. And from that moment, it was kind of like it was like the Stray Cat Strut, or the Fat Cat Strut. I'm so sorry, I don't remember what the song was called, but that's when that melded with actually playing with people, and not being in a classroom of 20-something people and being disconnected and not really having a real emotional connection to the music. It was me with a dude I really looked up to, and he probably really, really wanted to inspire me to do well. So since then, we started playing music together, and slurp, 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 slurp. Playing music together and learning songs and getting better and learning how to groove and learning like what it means to groove with someone else means. So anyway, this guy, he taught me how to groove, and he really showed me what it meant to be a bass player, not just someone who plays bass. And again, I'm only 9, 10, maybe 11 at this point. And unfortunately, he wasn't in my life for too long, and after he was out of my life, that's when I kind of threw away music for a little bit, and I picked up video games, other things, and I tried to connect with people in other ways. I started investing a lot of time into video games and competitive shooters, and that's when I met my friends through that way, and where I learned how to connect with people through teamwork. And through, not in a band sense, but as in a pure role of, I'm, five oppers in one dude, and, it's never going to work. You need to have synergy, you need to have everyone play a different role. And so I played a lot of competitive shooters, probably have like over 3 counts in like 5 or 6 years. I probably have like 3,000 hours. 3,000, 3,500 hours in them, and I didn't get like good, but I just played them a lot. I never got better than like your average, mid tier. So if you had like a like bronze, silver, gold kind of thing, I would never get like higher than like mid silver. So I never trained hard to be excel and really push myself. And honestly, that's kind of like a thing that's been in my life a lot, of not really pushing myself enough, and always feeling like if something is easy, then I'm just going to do the easy thing, and I'm not going to do the easy thing and then move on to the harder thing. Even in school, like from a young age, I found a lot of menial classwork. Like, I didn't really understand the point of like writing stuff down like 30 times, or like really practicing your handwriting, or like the repetition of things, and really honing the thing, sharpening the axe, if you will. I was just really invested in like, okay, I have it, new thing. I have it, new thing. I have it, new thing. I don't have time to really, draw my S's this way. I draw them this way. Leave me be. Like, what does it matter? My opinion is the way, why doesn't everyone just think my way? If everyone thought my way, then life would just be so much easier as a 6-year-old. 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, however old. And to go into the teamwork thing, when I would always have teammates that wouldn't really agree with me and jive with me, I would get really upset with them. And I wouldn't really understand, like, I would think that my perspective of how the round should be run is the way it should be, team leader. But honestly, I just didn't leave space for other people to talk. I didn't give enough space to anyone to really give their opinion of a thing. And I didn't really realize that at the time, but that was kind of like damaging to a lot of the relationships I was having, because when you have someone over to play, and like, this bled over into real life friendships, into hanging out with people. When you want people to hang out with you, and you only want to do the things you want to do, and you only want to do the things that you're comfortable with doing, and you're not really open to trying new things and doing the things that they want to do, because of course they're new people. There's going to be new things that you haven't done before, and that's kind of the joy, and the joy and the experience of life is doing the new things and finding out how other people do things. I really wasn't open to that for a long time, and it's still something I work on every day, of not being a picky person. And really learning to just embrace the differences and the changes and the challenges. So after playing 3,500 hours of video games, I was sick and tired of just doing nothing with my life. And again, I'm in like 8th grade, 9th grade at this point. It's still relatively very, very young, not really, 13, 14, confused with the world, hormones going crazy, not really knowing what to do with anything. And so I figured, you know what, like, there's this other guy, this guy number 2, I guess. he was staying with my mom for a little bit, and he played guitar. And at this point, I haven't picked up a bass since guy number one left, when I was, 9, 10 years old. And, I seen him, music to him wasn't anything serious, but it was a skill that he could get good at. He didn't look at music as his lifeblood, as the thing he didn't bleed music. It was just something he wanted to do. And that really inspired me because up until that moment, all of my interactions with music were either school taught, lesson based, and written in a book, or this is your lifeblood. You wake up every morning and you do music, and if you don't commit to the craft, then you're a fake musician. Neither of those options really appealed to me, and I didn't know that I could music a different way. So seeing guy number two do that really made me think like, oh, hey, like, if I just want to pick up a guitar and learn a couple songs, nothing's stopping me, right? And, there's nothing stopping you from just trying it out. Hey, there's a connection. Trying stuff out, just seeing how it fits, not immediately, saying I like it or I don't like it. So I picked up an old guitar that I had. I picked up my grandfather's guitar and learned how to play a G chord, learned how to play a D chord, learned how to play a C chord, and then slowly enough I was on my way, doing the first rounds of songs that you learn off of YouTube. For some reason, I always found YouTube to be really easy to learn from. Like, I would be like 8 or 9 learning how to like do make ninja stars and like paper balloons and just really like stuff to just pass the time. And just like deep down I really wanted to impress people. And I thought like me learning these really odd skills was gonna impress people. So I learned how to yo-yo, and I got pretty good. I don't know if anyone here knows anything about yo-yoing. But I learned some pretty good like A1, A2 tricks. Like I got into like the intermediate advanced level. Like I can split an atom like no one's business. I can do like a double trapeze and like go into like, I forget names now and I'm not really good at it anymore. But I learned how to yo-yo, and I thought that would impress people, but that really didn't. It just kind of made people not talk to me. And then later when I was like 13, 14, 12 even, 12, 13, 14, and I'm not going to go into too much detail of what they are, but it's a really cool art form, and it's a really cool thing to do when you have trainers. Obviously, laws: never get a real one, never play with knives. But I had a bottle opener that was like a butterfly knife balisong, bottle opener, and same thing. I went on YouTube, went on tutorials, learned how to do butterfly knife tricks essentially, and I got really good at that. And then I would be 13, 14 going around school flipping around a bottle opener and thinking like, oh hey, people would come up to me and they'd be like, oh, look at that sophisticated gentleman who has exquisite taste and good skills. So then I picked up the guitar and I thought like, hey, you know what, maybe this one isn't gonna turn people away that much. So out of sheer boredom and also out of wanting to do something that wasn't video games, I picked up the guitar, learned songs, and slowly I started making more friends who played guitar and who was really into classic rock stuff. And then slowly I got a little bit better than them, and better as in like I just progressed more, and I gave more time to the instrument. Honestly, like it just really sucked up my time because I realized after getting a little bit better and then stopping and then getting a little bit better and stopping, getting a little bit better, that if I want to remain good at this thing, then I have to be consistent at it. And if I want to, like, my goal was to just be able to play a song and someone be like, hey, look at that guy, he can play, he's a competent guitar player, he's a competent musician. That's all I really wanted. And once you go on that mission, you slowly realize how much effort goes into making things look effortless. And that just set off the journey of being, slowly waking up every day thinking that if I don't make this my life, and if I don't bleed this thing, then I'm not going to be able to make this thing look as effortless as I want it to. I'm not going to be able to be as competent on this thing as I want to be. And that's when I really started taking it seriously. And after 5 or 6 years, I realized this is the only thing that I've really cared about deeply. Like not like video games. Like I cared about video games, but that was more of just a conduit to hang out with friends and be social and to, connect with people. But music allowed me to connect with myself, and it allowed me to build the confidence to really, confidence as in like I could prove to myself that I could do something, I could learn something, and I could get good at something. And after doing that for 5 or 6 years, I realized that's really the only thing I'm good at. And if I want to do something that's not the same thing that my parents did, which gave me a fantastic life and it gave me the opportunity to explore, but if I want to do something that's different, then I'm going to have to do something different. I'm going to have to open up my mind to the possibilities of the world and open up my mind to the idea that I'm going to have to work really hard at something, and I'm not going to be able to do the minimum assignment. And I'm going to have to learn why I have to draw the S's a certain way, and why I have to write down things 30 times in a row until it's right. So it all kind of goes full circle into the childlike behavior of not really wanting to sit down, take the time, and really just commit to the act, to the thing of just wanting to rush to the next thing. And I guess that kind of leads into rushing into moving away from Fort McMurray and moving away from my family, where I was in a really awkward situation where I felt like the only option I had was to get as far away as possible. So I found the opportunity to get in a band and pursue music full time, and I took it. And thinking that if I just sprungboard myself off of that, then it would, just like that one effort of me moving away would be enough to propel me, and that would be enough to be sustainable. You learn that the effort is a consistent effort, an effort that you need to drive and do daily. And I never had a full-time job and a full-time band, and at that time a full-time relationship. And when you have all those things and you're used to being alone a lot of the time, and you're used to having a lot of time to yourself and a lot of time to recharge and not, push yourself past your boundaries, to put it, in a little more of a metaphorical sense, when you're swimming in the deep end for 2 or 3 years after only being in the shallow end your entire life, you either sink or you learn how to swim. And after floundering,
to really let those ideas flounder and
flourish. Yeah.
Not flounder. Flounder is what happens when you don't have the space.
I realized I needed to go back to the shallow end and not, just recoup. I worked some pretty miserable jobs, and I've met some really amazing people at those miserable jobs, and I've had some really good experiences at those miserable jobs. But at the end of the day, when you're struggling for money, struggling for food, and struggling of all aspects of friendship, of family, of relationship, of intimate, of all of it, when you're just lacking of everything, you stop finding the reasons to do the things that you left for in the first place. So me moving to Edmonton to pursue music moved into me living in a really bad spot, surviving. Not even music, not even being in the question of my daily life. So I realized I had to recuperate. I had to do something different, and I had to change it up again, Had to do more work. So I called up my friend Brandon
To really let those
and he moved me back up. I've been teching, and he taught me how to tech, like audio tech, and like almost everything that I know about doing live audio, and how to manage people in a nice way without being controlling, and how to be a team, and also how to take charge when you need to take charge. And I always found that was, that's also another difficult thing for me, is knowing when the time to lean in and take charge and step up, and when is the time to be a team player. But in music, it's almost second nature to take charge and lead the room. But also, when you're the leader, you have to give everyone else the opportunity to shine. And that's what I realized I love doing. I love being a band leader, and I love being able to point to, the second guy and being like, solo, and then he takes a massive solo, and then, I point to the next guy, and then he has a moment, and then it all, I like being the orchestrator of the whole thing. And being with Brandon, he really gives me the opportunity to do that, and be the organizer of my own thing. But also, he's always a phone call away, and he's always there to help me out when I mess up routing some buses, or I mess up patching some cables, and he's really shown me the lighter side of Fort McMurray, and how this place isn't as one-dimensional as I initially thought it was growing up here, because when I left Fort McMurray the first time, I was under the impression that the only people who lived here and the only people who survived here were people that had a different personality than me, and I didn't think that I could thrive here. And after actually stepping outside a little bit and experiencing the world a little bit, and seeing Fort McMurray for what it has to offer, a little bit more than just being in school and just being, a teenager and a hooligan and, whatever have you, being a productive member of the community, it's teaching me that this place cares so much more than people want to believe. And even though we get a really weird rap and we have a really weird reputation, there's so many souls here that want nothing more than this little community to be exactly that, a community, a family, something deeper than just a boomtown. One of the things I really notice is the different kinds of relationships, and the I treat my relationship with my family completely different than I treat my relationship with my bandmates. But yet, on an individual level, I see them as the same kind of people. As in, once I know you, I'm going to treat you the same. It's like I try and treat everyone with the same baseline respect and the same baseline decency. And when I'm operating on a one-on-one level with them, it's like, it's easy to, like, I'm talking to you guys right now, like, it's just, me talking to them like people. But as soon as you start putting labels on the relationship and you start putting labels on what things are, like, that starts really confusing my brain and starting to put more labels on the labels, because with labels comes expectations, ? Like, in my mind, parents are supposed to fill out a certain set of roles, and friends are supposed, like, not supposed to, but friends, they fill out certain roles, and bandmates fill out certain roles. So it may be contradicting to say that I treat everyone on the same human baseline level when I'm talking to them one-on-one, but yet when I look at them in more of a group sense, I categorize them as filling different roles in my life and fulfilling different needs. And I'm not sure what that means. I'm not really sure what that means about, anything, but it's something I've noticed, that it's really easy for me to it's really easy for me to zoom out and categorize people into certain places, and then start treating them accordingly. But also that relationship isn't exactly mapped. If that relationship isn't exactly mapped out, sometimes what happens is I think I have the relationship figured out, quote unquote, and I have them put in the right box. But they don't think of life that way, and that creates a lot of friction, because once I put you in a box, it's really hard for me to think of you in a different way, and it's really hard for me to strip you of the expectations that I have for you. And it's not to say that, I put everyone in the same box. Like, each box is very individualized and very special. But, like, on a very, very simple baseline level, if I think the expectation of our relationship is you give me cookies, I'll fix your car, then, one day I come, to fix your car and you don't give me any cookies, I'm going to be like, what's up, dude? But in your mind, the relationship was, oh, I just have some cookies and I'm going to, give him cookies. And it just so happened I make lots of cookies all the time. And this one time he came over to fix my car, he didn't have any cookies, So, like, to that person, coming over to fix the car is kind of like, oh, he was, they were gonna go and do that anyway, and I was just gonna give the cookies out anyway. We all just kind of live in this wishy-washy thing of, people just kind of do things, and I find it, it's really important to really verbally dictate and really set verbal boundaries and expectations of, like, what is this relationship, and are you comfortable with those expectations and, showing up in that way? And honestly, in my life, I found a lot of people, they're uncomfortable with those conversations, because it's almost like there's this social, like, these unwritten social rules and these unwritten social conducts that, in some communities, we just kind of give cookies away and we just kind of fix people's cars for free. But in other communities, I give you cookies for you fixing my car. And we just live in such a globalized world that it's hard for me to kind of know which is which. And it's also hard for other people who think, in those ways, to have the conversations about, like, the transaction thing of that, because some people are kind of put off with the idea of a transactional relationship because it makes them feel like they're being used, which is completely valid and fair. I can completely see that. But I would argue that everything on a baseline level is transactional, like on an energy level, down to, a lot of people talk about filling up an emotional cup, and if my emotional cup is full, then I can fill up your cup. But if my cup isn't full, then I can't afford to fill up your cup. That's a transaction of sorts. So first off, These Make Sense is the first video project I've ever done. other than shooting some Instagram videos on my phone. Second, it's the most ambitious thing I've done. And most importantly, it's probably slurp, 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 slurp. No, it's not probably. It is the first project that I've gotten this amount of, support for. I've never applied to anything like this before. I've never really put myself out there and tried to do this kind of thing before. And it's like I'm swimming in the deep end again, but I know how to swim a little bit. It's not like I know. It's like I got some little paddlers on. I can float around. I'm not just completely sinking. It's definitely still like intimidating, but I also know that if I trust myself and if I trust the process, then in the end, as long as I'm honest to myself and I have honest conversations, then whatever's going to come out is going to come out. And hopefully the people that I pick and I selected for my interviews are interesting enough, and I hope that I'm interesting enough to the camera. Who really knows what's going to happen to this project, but one thing I can say for sure is I am giving it my absolute everything that I have, and I don't really care about anything as much as this right now. I'm going to continue getting better at it. I'm going to continue working on it. I'm going to learn as much as I can, and I'm going to keep sourcing the best people that I can, keep talking about the best stories that I can, representing the best communities that I can. It's recording music in a way is very zen, because you have to, when you're recording music and you're getting quote unquote the take, because the way I write music and the way I record music is a very linear process of get the first baseline take of guitar or drums or whatever, and then you build a bass on top of that. But it's all a sandwich built on the foundation of you have to get an amazing piece of music first. You have to get the take, the performance. It has to be the thing. And in order to do that, you have to create a space in which you're not trying to get the perfect take, but create the space in which the perfect take just kind of flows out of you. And so inherently, music is a much more of a flowy, vibe-based, like, hey man, we're going to kind of just see what happens. And when you're doing video and when you're doing editing and video production, it's almost the exact opposite of that, where it's very very punctuation based, very numbers based, of your cameras. I mean, I guess your cameras need to be at these levels, your lights need to be at these levels, your angles need to be these, and I guess like music's also like that. And once like you need to set your gain levels the right way. It's best to have most of your music be in the same key. It's so there are rules in music, but I feel like in an audio medium, it's a lot easier to break those rules, and it's a lot easier, for me at least, to sit down and record that. Whereas me sitting down doing this is a lot different of a thing, and it feels a lot more like I'm showing up to work and I'm getting it done and I'm pushing myself to do something, which is absolutely fantastic, and I appreciate it so much. It's just a different thing. It's like doing a Sudoku puzzle is really beneficial for you in a different way that baking bread is beneficial for you. You're both exercising different parts of your brain, but at the end of the day, you're both utilizing, being human. And I guess that's really what I really want to accomplish in this project, is what's it like to be a human, and what's it like to be human, and why are human things easier than other human things, and why are some humans better at some things than other things, and the beauty of being able to see other humans and experience them and just explore them, because I know in my life I've not done enough of that, and I've at points actively rejected people and different opinions and ideas and ways of living, and I don't want to do that, and I want to explore a little bit, and I think Music Makes Sense is a way for me to do that, and I really hope that in this process people can come along and they can, see where it takes me. But on that note, I'm Josh Weber, and this has been Music Makes Sense. Thank you for watching.